What is going on, y'all? Psych Perspectives, GeoFlux here, and in this video, we're going to be discussing class consciousness. So, over the past few years, people have become more and more aware of class consciousness to the point that people are finally having those conversations like labor rights, labor unions, labor strikes, demanding better wages, what's quiet quitting. All of these things have been happening the past few years. Me personally, I have been making videos and commentary and content around work jobs, work culture, work environment, uh, the low pay, the stagnant wages. I've been doing this for basically 9 years, specifically on this channel. Like, if you go back to 2014, 9 years ago, when I graduated with my Bachelor's of Arts in Sociology with a minor in substance abuse treatment, I had a whole series called, what was it? Student Custodian Rants or Custodian Rants. And it was basically me discussing how badly I was, paid, even though I had 2 associate's degrees and a bachelor's degree, and how hard it was to find a job in my field or related to my field after graduating with my bachelor's in 2014. And here we are 9 years later, and the saga continues. So, when we're talking about class consciousness, basically what we're discussing is when everybody becomes aware of their class status as it pertains to money, wealth, economics, job security, what type of lifestyle you have, what type of quality of life that you have, your access to different resources such as quality food, healthy food items, quality education in school. Like, class encompasses so much more than just how much money you have, right? So class consciousness, again, being aware of your class, and really when you sit down and think about it, you're either, unfortunately in 2023, you're either poor, impoverished, okay, working poor, working class, where you are living check to check. One missed paycheck can literally mean you potentially being homeless, facing homelessness. A lot of people don't have the capabilities to save 6 months of their monthly income for an emergency. Because in order for you to save 6 months of your monthly income for an emergency, you would actually have to make double to triple what you make monthly in order to do that. You know why? Because most of us have to pay bills. And what we bring in monthly is not enough for us to pay the bills that we already have, hence why a lot of us are living check to check. And if you're living check to check to pay bills and to have access to basic bare necessities, how are you going to have money to save your monthly income for 6 months in case there's an emergency? I'll wait. Like, let's really ponder that, because like a lot of these, advices that a lot of these financial literacy education folks, whether that's the bank, the credit union, or whoever is telling you this, that's in finances, they love to give us those, anecdote advice pieces, but then they're not giving you actual resources to actually make that advice doable for you. So a lot of people are waking up and just seeing for themselves that a lot of us are severely underpaid, overworked, and undermined time and time again in our place of work. Recently at my job, myself and a few of my colleagues, we had been talking about submitting a letter to our board members for quite some time because of the low income, the low pay, the low wages, the low and stagnant. And what we mean by low, not only are they under the cost of living, but they're also stagnant. And when we say stagnant, what we mean essentially is there's no fluctuation. Like, y'all are still offering the same jobs, employers are still offering the same wages and salaries from 10 and 20 years ago. Okay, that's what we mean by low and stagnant. Like, $40,000 a year 20 years ago was pretty decent. 30 years ago, you were living really well. Like, $40,000 a year in 2003, in 1993, you could be middle class easily in 2003 as an individual with no children, no dependents, a single person in 2003 on $40,000 a year. You could easily be middle class. 30 years ago in 1993, you were upper middle class, basically. Because $40,000 in 1993 had the buying power of about $85,000. Blech. It was double its worth and some change. Fast forward today, $40,000 after taxes and deductions is in the $32,000 range, right? Like, it's really fluctuating between 28 and 32,000, depending on what city and state you live in, what type of taxes and deductions that you pay, right? And, if you just break it down hourly, in my situation, I did get a slight raise last year. It basically looks like a $6 raise. Because that's another thing. A lot of us, if you do get a raise, it's like 2%. You're not really going to be able to tell much with a 2% raise. Like, literally, I went from $1,193.76 every 2 weeks to $1,199.12. So I didn't even go up a full $6. You know what I mean? And again, what is $6 going to do for somebody in 2023 when gas is always over $3 a gallon? Everything has gone up. Every single good, service, material, everything has gone up, right? Like, not only has the cost gone up, but the service in itself is less service, or you have less quantity, but yet you're paying more for it. It's just been bad. Yet our wages and salaries have not stayed on par with today's cost of living at all. I mean, it's 2023 and the federal minimum wage is still $7.25, which was updated in July of 2009. I've said this so many times. I finished my junior year in high school in 2009. So July 2009, I was 16 years old, and I got my first job. Okay, so I'm 30 now. 14 years later, and it's still $7.25 an hour federally in the USA for the minimum wage. What is going on needs to be asked. Like the fact that we all just kind of sit around here and we're just like, oh yeah, $7.25 an hour, 14 years later, but it's your fault that you can't purchase a car, or you can't put food on the table, you can't afford rent. It's your fault that you can't afford health care insurance. It's your fault if you're a parent and you can't afford to pay for your child's food at school. It's everyone's fault, even though none of us are being paid living wages that reflect today's cost of living, that takes inflation into consideration.